Association. Welcome to another edition of Catching Up With, the online learning series offered through My Notre Dame that allows you to learn a little bit more about and interact directly with some notable Notre Dame alums. If you're watching live today and you'd like to submit a question for our guest, you can do so by emailing in your questions to the email address ndalumni@nd.edu. That's ndalumni@nd.edu. Our guest today has a very long list of accomplishments and titles. To name a few, while she was at Notre Dame, she was a standout student, an All-American on the women's basketball team, the 2001 Naismith Player of the Year for women's basketball, and of course a national champion in 2001. After graduation, she went on to win 2 titles in the WNBA, as well as an Olympic gold medal. And she's a proud member of the class of 2001. Ruth Riley, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Ruth, we obviously, as I alluded to, you have a lot of accomplishments that we're going to need to get to and go through, but here on Catching Up With, we like to start at the beginning. So why not start with, where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up on a farm about an hour and 15 minutes south of the campus, as they like to say, in the shadow of the dome a little bit. So I'm a Hoosier through and through.
Great. And what was your childhood like? Were you always were you very into sports, I imagine, from a young age?
Yeah, I'm sure if you've driven through Indiana, you'll see there's pretty much a basketball hoop on any barn, any light post that you pass by. So I think that playing basketball just comes with the territory growing up in Indiana, and obviously my height. I started playing at a young age. I wasn't very good when I was young, but I definitely loved to play.
That's interesting that you say you weren't very good, because obviously, you know, one of the best women's basketball players of all time. Basically, how did you improve if you weren't good when you started? And at what point did you really start to succeed in basketball?
Well, I joke around that height is something that I've always had, but skill and coordination came a lot later. So I've always been taller than everyone else. Always loved to play. My mom gave me a tremendous work ethic. She taught me to dream big, and but then made me realize I had to work really hard to achieve those. And so, you know, growing up, there were no other girls playing basketball around me, so I just played with the guys. And when you do that, they make you tougher, they make you stronger. I would live with our football team. I spend hours in the gym working on my game before and after school. I'd watch VH cassettes of Pete Newell's big man camp so I could learn post moves. And, you know, it's just a combination of all those that I think enabled me to get to the level that Coach McGraw decided to take a chance on me and offer me a scholarship to Notre Dame.
Well, you mentioned you accepted a scholarship offer from McGraw at Notre Dame. What made you? I'm sure you had a very successful high school career and had lots of scholarship offers from top programs around the country. What made you choose Notre Dame? What attracted you to that program and to the university?
Well, Notre Dame really had everything that I was looking for. It was close to home. It was a strong academic school. Obviously, the basketball program was on a rise, and for me, the faith component as well. And so it really was the full package for me, and I just felt comfortable and at peace that was where I was meant to be.
A lot of people obviously know about your successes on the basketball court. I think probably fewer people are aware that you were a tremendous student at Notre Dame and a mainstay on the dean's list during your time at the university. What was your major, and why were academics such a big priority for you?
Well, I majored in psychology. I came in thinking I would do pre-med. I knew I wanted to work with people, and just kind of transitioned from that to psychology after first semester. But yeah, I mean, academics is something that my mom, you know, preached from a young age. She didn't have the opportunity to go to college, and she made sure that my sister, who actually went to Notre Dame with me as well on an academic scholarship, and I understood the value of our education. And it's something that, you know, I have a lifelong pursuit of learning and knowledge.
And what dorm did you live in when you were a student in Notre Dame?
I lived in one of the new dorms at the time, Welsh Family Hall, right behind Morrison, and you know, I loved that. It was a great experience.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people always say that the friends that they met in their dorm have kind of stayed their friends as they move forward. Is your group of friends still are you still close with a number of the girls that you met in Welsh Fam?
Yeah, I would say so. But a few of my teammates obviously are the closest friends that I'll have from college. You know, but I would say the girls in my dorm would be second to them.
Sure, sure. Now, playing for Coach McGraw, What was that like? What type of a coach was she, and what was your relationship with Coach like?
I love Coach. I mean, she's honest, she's fair, she's incredibly intelligent. She's always going to put you in a position, individually and as a team, to have the best chance to win. And I appreciate that she's always supported me. She's always helped me try to achieve my goals. And I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think she's the best coach in women's basketball.
I think a lot of people would agree with you on that. For those of you watching live, a reminder: if you'd like to submit a question for Ruth, you can do so by emailing it in to the email address ndalumni@nd.edu. Now, Ruth, obviously in your first 3 years with the Notre Dame women's basketball team, the team had some success. Went to the Sweet 16 a couple of times, but you hadn't reached the Final Four yet. What was your mindset going into your final season, the 2000-2001 year, your senior season?
Well, I think we knew that was the last shot, or I knew that was the last shot for myself, and we had 5 seniors in my class, and I knew that we lost in the tournament early my junior year, and I think that was a reality check, and it really just caused me to think about my goals and my priorities and what I wanted to accomplish my senior year. And so we had a lot of firsts that senior year. First time beating UConn, first sellout at home, first #1 ranking, but my ultimate goal was just to win a national championship. And so, I felt like Neil was our very vocal and vibrant leader, and I was the one that just kind of tried to keep us steady and focus on task.
You mentioned the victory over UConn. It was obviously a huge power in the sport. It seems like, looking back on that season, that was really a game where the Notre Dame team and you specifically kind of busted out on the national stage, and people really started to pay attention. I think in that game you had 29 points, something like 12 rebounds and 5 blocks, and it was a game that was on national television. Was that the moment when people really started paying attention to you specifically, and what was that experience like as you started to get more and more national exposure?
Well, I definitely didn't know my stats. I've never been one to know my stats in games. It's funny to hear that. But I think for me it was, like I said, my goal was always to win a national championship. And I was grateful for the attention because I think that just showed where our program had gone, and it showed that I was doing something to help my team be successful. And my goal was never any of the individual accolades that I won, although I'm extremely grateful for them. I think what drove me day in and day out was to do whatever my team needed me to do to win. And obviously some nights that meant 29 points and 12 rebounds, and other nights that meant something else.
Sure. The team obviously advanced to the Final Four and then to the final game against Purdue, and was down, at the end of the game there, but you down 2 points and you scored the basket to tie it up, and then went to the line with the game on the line, hit 2 free throws to kind of seal the national championship. What were you thinking? What was going through your mind, if you can remember, when you were in the closing minute there, when you were going to the line for those 2 free throws with the game on the line?
It's funny, I've been asked that question a lot, and my immediate response is, first, I'm grateful that they called the foul because that gave me the chance to go to the line to take a few free throws. And then, secondly, I'm just thinking, okay, what are my basic free throw routine? You don't want to get distracted at a moment like that. I've shot thousands and thousands of free throws to prepare myself for that moment, and so I wanted to, as an athlete, always take myself back to getting confidence from that preparation. And I had a certain routine that I would do, and I just kind of reminded myself mentally of what that was, and I think it hit every part of the rim before it went in, but I'm grateful that they both went in.
And all college athletes probably come to campus their freshman year dreaming of winning a national championship, but few actually achieve it. But you did, and in your senior year, your last game with Notre Dame, and it was Coach McGraw, obviously her first title there. What was that experience like? You mentioned there were 5 seniors on the team. What was it like as the capstone to your career to go out on top as a national champion?
I mean, it's really a storybook ending. The last game that I'll ever play in a Notre Dame jersey, and to walk off the court winning the ultimate prize. I couldn't have dreamt of anything more. And as a college athlete, I think that that's just the ultimate goal that you can have. And so obviously I'm just extremely grateful for the time that I had at Notre Dame. And we had a very, like I said, veteran-heavy team. We're very close. And so I think it was a unique experience for all of us.
And obviously, it wasn't your only championship in the sport. Moving on to your career in the WNBA, you spent a couple of seasons with Miami before landing in Detroit, who I think had the worst record in the league the season before you got there. And then in your first year, ended up doing very well, and you helped lead them to the WNBA championship that year. What was that season like? What was it like taking a team kind of from worst to first?
It was probably one of the most unique years in my professional career. I went from a very old school coach in Miami, great guy, a teacher, to one of the most obnoxious coaches in the league, a former Notre Dame guy, Bill Lambier, but extremely intelligent coach, really expanded my game, took me outside of the back to the basket kind of post player that I used to be, and we had a unique team. We were all young, hungry, selfless. And the way we were able to turn that around, I think, was just a combination of all those, selfless young players just every night, just excited to get on the floor and win, and a lot of talent. And so, it was definitely a unique moment in sports history.
You mentioned Bill Lambier, obviously another Notre Dame alum and great Notre Dame basketball player. That must have been an interesting experience. How is Bill Lambier different as a coach than Coach McGraw?
Well, I would say their vocabulary might be a little different in how it's used. But there's actually a lot of similarities. They're both incredibly intelligent. They're both very straightforward. They both did a great job of preparing us. I think for me, playing for Bill, it was the unique dynamic of having a post player be my head coach, which doesn't happen too often for professional basketball players. And so I had somebody that really knew my position, was able to expand my game personally in the post. And I think that was probably the biggest difference between the two.
And obviously, you won another championship in Detroit, but another title that you ended up winning in 2004. You were selected for the Olympic team, and you represented the United States. What was that experience like, representing your country on the global stage?
I mean, the greatest honor any athlete could have is representing your country, and just the entire experience, from walking in opening ceremonies and interacting with, all the athletes from your country and then all the athletes from around the world. And there's just something unique and special, and it's really hard to put into words. But as a little girl, my dream was always to play in the Olympics. The WNBA didn't exist when I was growing up. It started the year in between my high school senior year and my freshman year in college. So my ultimate dream, was to play in the Olympics. So for me, that was an unbelievable dream come true.
And you, after a storied career and 2 championships, you announced your retirement from the WNBA earlier this year. What are your plans? What are you going to be focusing on? What will you be working on post-retirement from professional basketball?
Well, there's a lot going on right now. Excited to be back on campus. I've enrolled into the executive MBA program, so I'm really excited to be back in school. It's definitely a lot different than my undergrad years. The technology has changed tremendously since I was at Notre Dame the first time, but just love being back on campus, around the athletes, hopefully doing some TV and radio for the games. And then I will continue to do the humanitarian work that I've been really invested in probably the latter half of my career.
Sure. We want to get to that humanitarian work in a moment here, but you said you'll be back on campus. What made you decide to apply for and enroll in the EMBA program, the Executive MBA program at the Mendoza College of Business? Well,
obviously we have the best business school in the U.S., one of them, and for me to be back close to my family, back on campus, having the opportunity to work with Coach McGraw, maybe doing some leadership stuff with the girls. I don't think that coaching is in my future, but I want to be around the program for a couple of years and be able to make a positive impact in the student athletes' lives while I'm on campus. And for me, I've had a lot of experience in the world. I don't have a lot of the knowledge of business, and so I feel like this would be the best program for me to gain that knowledge.
And do you think you'll be, while you're back on campus, can we expect you to be maybe dropping by Ralph's and surprising some people playing pickup basketball there and getting in a few games?
Yeah, I'm sure that, this is the first time that I can actually play bookstore basketball. I mean, I really wasn't able to do that when I was in school, so I might have to start getting my teams together early this year.
Great, great. For those of you watching live, just another reminder, if you'd like to submit a question for Ruth, please email it in to us at ndalumni@nd.edu. Now, Ruth, you mentioned earlier your kind of the focus or the second focus of your career the last several years has been a lot of charity work. One of those charities is Nothing But Nets, the United Nations program that you're a kind of global spokesperson for. Can you tell us a little bit about what that program is and what you do for that initiative?
Yeah, Nothing But Nets is just in partnership with the UN Foundation, the NBA, and the WNBA. I've been founding partners with them, and malaria, surprisingly, is one of the leading killers of children in Africa, especially under the age of 5, and it makes pregnant women extremely vulnerable as well. And since 2006, I've been able to travel to deliver nets, to come back, tell the stories of some of the amazing women that I've met, and just raise funds and awareness for this cause that a lot of people don't know about. And it's easy. $10 sends a net and saves a life, and it's been tremendous to see the response of some of the American people for the campaign.
And you also co-founded your own charitable organization, correct? Isn't that right?
Yeah, so I started a nonprofit in South Africa that's HIV prevention through sports, and I've been going there since 2006 as well, and it's really awesome for me to use the sport that I love to hopefully create behavior change and positively impact people in the world.
Obviously, this is a lot of very kind of impressive and inspiring work you've been involved in while playing professional basketball, no less. What is it that drives you to give back and get involved with these particular organizations?
Well, I would say the leading factor is definitely my faith, and I'm just grateful for what God has given me, what other people have done to help me in my life, and want to be able to use the platform that I have to give back. And so it's really just using the area of influence that I've been given through this sport that I love and trying to positively impact the world.
And now that you're in the EMBA program, are you going to continue to focus your efforts on these two organizations? Are you looking to maybe start some new ones? What are your kind of grand plans for the future? 10 years from now, what would you like to be doing?
Well, I also work with a hunger awareness campaign in the United States called No Kid Hungry. Most people don't realize 1 in 4 kids actually go hungry in the U.S. It's something they think that only happens in the developing world, and that's another one that's really something I'm passionate about. And I've started to talk to Notre Dame's Global Development Initiative and would love to get more involved in some of the service acts that Notre Dame is doing around the world. I think that a lot of our Notre Dame fans and faithful and family, love that what we're able to do, and I'd love to be able to kind of help tell that story of the impact that Notre Dame is making around the world.
That's great. You mentioned earlier that now that you're back on campus, you're going to be spending some time around the program and helping out with Coach McGraw a little bit, maybe doing some announcing. What has it been like for you? Obviously, your team was, got to the top of the mountain. Notre Dame's champion in women's basketball, but the program seems to have, really taken off from there, where you now have, all the games are sold out. They're consistently making it to the Final Four every year. What has it been like for you as a former player, watching from afar, watching the program grow and continue to succeed?
Well, just extremely proud. I mean, wow, what they've been able to accomplish, especially going to 4 Final Fours in the last 4 years, I mean, that's tremendous. And, just honored to be a small part of building the program to where it's at. And obviously my heart breaks that they're not able to win that final game. But I think that, for me and all of the Notre Dame alumni, we're just extremely proud of where our program is and that we're one of the top in the nation right now.
And you said earlier it was a big benefit to you when Bill Laimbeer was your coach, being coached by a post player. Do you think you'll be maybe helping out some of the young bigs on the Notre Dame team, teaching them the tricks of the trade, your post moves and everything?
Well, I think that unfortunately there's a lot of NCAA rules about what I can and can't do on the court, and so I just have to really be careful of how I'm able to engage with them. Obviously, community service stuff, leadership stuff is something I'm able to work with them on, but I have to figure out exactly where the line is and what I can do on the court.
Great. And what are you most excited about being back on campus? What are you most looking forward to as you start this the EMBA program?
Well, honestly, I'm in an exciting place in my life. It's a transition. I'm putting down something that I've done pretty much most of my life up until this point, and to be able to go back to school, to gain knowledge, to be around a place that I love. I walk around campus and see so many familiar faces, and I just love the atmosphere and the aura that surrounds Notre Dame, and I'm excited to be around that for a few more years.
Well, great. I know. I'm sure the university is very excited to have you back, and everyone at the university is very proud of your success and enjoyed watching your career, and will continue to enjoy with all the great things you're doing moving forward. Unfortunately, we're running out of time here, but Ruth, thank you so much for taking the time out today. We really appreciate it, and we enjoyed learning a little more about you and your wonderful career.
Thank you so much, and go Irish.
Go Irish. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for those of you who joined us live, and to those of you watching later on our YouTube page. Remember, if you want to stay up to date with our upcoming online learning events, you can go to my.nd.edu/online learning. And you can also visit the Notre Dame Alumni Association YouTube channel to watch all of our past events. I'm Kevin Brennan with the Notre Dame Alumni Association. Thanks so much for watching.